So, last time in the comment section down below, you guys asked for me to talk about Stevo playing Symmetra, so here we are. And if you want me to talk about any certain character in the future, or any certain player, please do vote for it down in the comment section down below, and whoever gets the most votes, I'll try to do next. Anyways, let's just get straight onto what Stevo's doing. He's a really good Symmetra. The one thing I don't like about him is that often he's a little bit toxic. Other than that, I feel like there's a lot to be learned about this guy. The first thing that we could learn was that actually you should almost always set up traps at the enemy spawn. You know, just put up your turrets. It gives you about 20% ult charge. And sure, you might not be able to kill anyone, but even if you get 5 to 10% ult charge, there's almost no negative to it. And if you just immediately put down your turrets right back again near your spawn or near wherever you're protecting, yeah, it's just a good idea to try to go for. As far as turrets go, don't put them next to a wall of death. If you have them in a room like here, you see how we're putting them all over the place. On one side, on the other side, next to doors, on the roof, wherever. We're not really just putting them in a wall next to each other, because if we do that, they're just all going to be immediately taken out, especially by Winston. But if they're all over the place, then maybe Winston can get 2 or 3 or even 4, but 1 or 2 will usually last the test of time, and we'll be able to see at least when they're attacking people, and we'll probably be able to protect our stuff like our teleporter right here. We actually see that we have a super early teleporter. Yeah, Stevo did that quite well, so we have an early teleporter now, and Stevo's protecting it the best he possibly can. His teammates are as well standing pretty close to it. He actually, one thing that I do like that he does a lot in this game is that he tells his teammates, hey guys, I have this room that we can go back to if we're starting to lose a team fight, and you're gonna win in there, and there's a teleporter in there, let's try to fight in there. And most people are kind of listening to him. The more he says for you to do it, the better it works out. And I guess one good thing to, kind of keep in mind about Symmetra is that you aren't a healing support, obviously, so you have to use your other good parts about your kit. Otherwise, it's just not going to work out well for you. And you often can't really just kind of trade damage with the enemy team all the time. Because if you do that, they have more heals. It's probably going to work out better for them. So you have to just rely on your turrets and how you're playing and, where your team is playing at. All that stuff for you, and I guess as well, your huge amount of damage, which is just great. Right there, we see, of course, we're trying to fight the Winston. You should probably never really try to fight a Winston. We couldn't really get away right there, so, it was just stuck there. But he is a huge pain, so try to not fight him unless you're with a teammate. If you're with a tank, you can often beat him pretty easily, especially if you're with a healer. You can kill him without way too much pain, especially if it's someone like a Zenyatta. Kind of go for that. Now, while we're looking kind of at his Teepee placements, you can either mainly hide your teleporter or put it next to your team. And I feel like the lower elo you get, the more time you see people hiding it. But often if you do that, the enemy Tracer or Genji or Doomfist or whatever can just find it and kill it pretty quickly. But since we're putting it next to our back line, way in the back line, where the enemy has to dive to get onto it, it essentially adds like a Mercy on our team, even though we don't have a Mercy on our team. Gives us that res potential, gives us all that damage, gives us really everything, which, yeah, that's a good thing about Symmetra that you want to go for if you want to put it next to your own backline. Right there we saw us charging up on the Winston shield. That's a thing you can go for. I never even thought to do that, but if you want to go for that, you can. When we're looking at the shield usage as well, though, this is something I want to talk about. We're just kind of spamming it out, and I feel like a lot of people just save up way too much for their shield or for the E button or whatever you want to call it. You can just kind of throw it out, try to block any damage, help yourself, help your tanks. It's not going to block way too much damage because it goes so quick, but you can do decently well with it. This game as well, we do see that we have a Ana as our only other healer. What I'd say, if possible, try to get Mercy. She's broken right now, obviously, but even without that, for your, just knowledge that she's broken, being able to have a res, plus another res from the Mercy ult, plus then teleports, that just allows so much potential on defense to just be dumb, and it's so hard for the enemies to take off the point, and just so hard to really do anything. So, if you can possibly go for that, you can go for that. Again, during this point, it's kind of like the first point where we are telling our teammates, fight in this room. We have 6 not teleporters. We have 6 turrets up. We have the teleporter back there. Try to fight in the room. Try to go and do whatever you can. We're just trying to bait as many people into here as possible. Charging up our ultimate pretty quickly as well. And that's one thing I should say. If you do get a lot of people to fight in your safe room, you can just kind of win that team fight, obviously. But as well, you can get a ton of damage out to get your ultimate up really quickly. So try to get people to fight there again. It's a smart idea to do. You could put your turrets out in the open, but they're just going to die, and maybe you'll get like 1%, and then it'll go away. Maybe play a little bit smarter. It is kind of boring for a little bit, because you do have to just kind of wait back here, but if people want to go for these team fights, if an enemy team, if they're really hungry for it, or if they need to get that teleporter, which they essentially have to, you can go for that. and, you know, whatever. You can just kind of go for that. For the shield gen versus the teleporter, I feel like this is something important. We only see teleporters this entire game on defense. We never see shield gen. And I feel like teleporter just gives you so much pressure. It gives you like 5 reses, or maybe 6. I think it gives you just a huge amount of reses. What is it right here? I don't remember. It's like 5 or 6. I think it's 5. That's just so much just benefit on defense. And it forces the enemy team again to come next to you. Of course, on offense, you can go shield gen a lot better, I think. And probably on King of the Hill, you can go shield gen if you're just starting out a fight and you have a really early shield gen. But on defense, I feel teleporter is, for the most part, a lot stronger unless you super badly need to win that exact team fight, which can sometimes happen. But I guess you have to, you know, put that into the call of your own brain when you are playing. When we're looking at who we're targeting right here, mainly who we're trying to shoot, we're just trying to shoot the nearest person. If we can get to the enemy backline, we go for it, but we aren't really diving back there. We aren't really using our shield to run to the enemy backline all the time. We use it to maybe get closer a bit, but most of the time we're kind of just, you know, happy getting a lot of damage on the tanks, charging up our ultimate a lot, and being a person that just, you know, gives us this really defensive room and gives us one of the best ultimates in the entire game if you can keep it up. So you can kind of continue like that. I think soon we see a nano boost on us. Maybe a bit early, but, you know, whatever. We can, I think, take out this guy. And, of course, if you're nanoed as Symmetra, look at that ult charge. We can immediately get a teleporter or a shield gen, whatever we think is best. I think since we have a few people down, he wanted to go for teleporter, but whatever. Shield gen would have worked as well. And you can fight and just, you know, kind of win the fight immediately from there. So, I mean, I guess you can go for that. As well, if the enemy team just, like, barely kills your teleporter and you get, like, an anti-nano boost, you can just win the next team fight because you're going to get another teleporter immediately. So, yeah, that's kind of nice. I guess some final things, you know, of course, as always, remind your team where you can play safely, where you're putting your teleporter on defense. And again, in order to make Sim really worth the pick, you have to play defensively next to your turret, and you have to play just kind of around walls and buildings, stuff like that. Super open maps kind of suck for Symmetra, so maybe she won't be the best at those, and some of those you're just going to kind of lose by default unless you have someone that's really good on your team that's carrying you. But for the most part, you can do okay. Here we are on offense, and generally on offense, all we do is just walk around corners, spam the alt fire, spam our E button, or shield button, whatever, and just keep doing it. We aren't often walking up at melee range, trying to get a ton of damage that way. I see a lot of people doing that, and while you might get damage out, it's a lot easier for the defense to just simply kind of poke you out and kill you without a second support, as always. So, you know, just try to get close. If you can get close up, of course, your primary fire does a ton more than your little spheres, your little ultimate fire. But, you know, you should try to focus on getting that, I guess, at range. Again, we see right here, you know, we're getting 80 picks. What we can do as well right here, though, is since we pushed up quite a bit, put our turrets up ASAP, because then when people come out of the window, we're going to get a lot more ult charge, even though we already have our ult. But mainly, it just kind of slows people down. It gives them a ton of damage, gets them maybe to half, as we saw right there with that diva. And then we can kind of finish them off a little bit quicker. And again, there's no reason to not go for that unless you're in the middle of a fight. But, you know, that's pretty obvious as far as that goes. On offense, again, though, with prolonged fights, you can't really win them. You have one healer. You need to make the fights fast. You need to try to poke, and then when you get a pick or when you get anything, just go hard in there and just try to finish off anything you can. Of course, Symmetra is not really the best offensive hero. Can work, depending on your team comp, but is a lot better on defense, in my opinion, in the stats. She has a much better win rate on defense. But still, on offense, you know, it is possible. You know, just kind of go for it. And I feel like the teleporters is as well one great thing about playing her on offense, because if you can go even, like 1-for-1, but then you get the teleporter, you can res somebody back, essentially, you know, like a 10-second res, which is kind of awkward, but, you know, they have to wait 10 seconds to come onto the point where your teleporter is. But if you can get that all down, then you can win most fights. Right here we see a TP on the high ground, which I'd say is probably worth your time. Unfortunately for us, there's a Junkrat that just jumps up here, so that kind of sucks, and then his dead body kills the teleporter. So we couldn't really guess that, but TP on high ground, I guess if they don't have a Junkrat or Pharah that knows where you are, can force that the enemy either has to just let you get those free teleports, or they have to push up quite a bit. And that's, again, kind of just how the teleporter works. It puts out a ton of pressure for your team, even though you might not be applying way too much damage or way too much, really anything at the current time. You're applying like 5 possible reses. So that's almost as good as most other things. As well, if you can't get a teleporter up there, your whole team can just jump on the enemy team from above. Height advantage is good. everything like that. There you go. Take what you can. Let's just kind of go on my final tips while we're finishing off this game. When you want to see other people on offense, you just kind of want to go for those alt fires again. They let you push up for free. And if you see like a Reinhardt, just try to shoot the Reinhardt. Don't try to shoot the people behind him, because you just want to get ult charge. You aren't really looking for kills. If you get one, you know, it's fine. It's something that's cool to get. But just go for the alt fire and try to get as much charge as you possibly can. And then I guess finally, you know, when you're trying to fight other DPS, obviously, just use your shield to get in. Use your shield to get like a ton of damage out. And mainly, I guess, just block a lot of burst. You can't really block a lot of sustained damage because your shield's just going to move away way too fast. But to block some burst, it's something that you can go for. One thing about Symmetra that I feel like is kind of awkward is that the shield just doesn't really work with the slow way that her kit works right now, and with how you have to kind of slowly push up and way back next to your team and get a lot of poke. Bit awkward, one of my least favorite things about her, but you still can get a decent amount of use out of it. But mainly just use it whenever it comes off of cooldown, because that's essentially what we're doing. I guess one final thing I can say is that if you do also have, you know, 2 supports, which some people like to do with Symmetra because, you know, they just want 2 supports. If you can get a Mercy and then a Lucio, especially on offense, that can also be quite amazing. I'd say on defense, you almost never really need a second healer. It can be nice, but you don't really need one. Sometimes on offense, though, it might be somewhat necessary, and you can play kind of as that DPS slot. If you play with a Lucio, you're going to get boosted in there, going to get a ton more damage, going to get your ult a lot earlier, and you can play, again, a lot more like an offense hero, and as well, use that DPS damage from the Lucio, and it can work out pretty well for you. Anyways, that's all I'm going to say about this today. Stevo, I feel like, did do really great as this character. Symmetra's a strong character, one of the actual highest % win rates, but that's because there's just a lot of one-tricks of her, and a lot of people that play her on defense, which is a lot better than her on offense, but again, you can kind of do either. Anyways, as always, guys, thank you all for watching. Hope you enjoyed. If you did, make sure to leave a like. Comment down below who you want me to talk about in the next video. Press that subscribe button if you want to see any more videos like this in the future or on any certain characters. And as always, guys, have a wonderful day. I'd like to thank Gilded.gg for sponsoring this video and mainly helping me a lot through the adpocalypse. So, Gilded itself is a website focused on finding, founding, and expanding your gaming team with relative ease. You can schedule events, recruit new members, build team comps, and find teams to scrim with and to scrim against. Best of all to you guys, it's free. You can get started yourself with the link in the description below, and if you sign up by November 10th, you'll be entered into a chance to win a $50 Blizzard gift card. So, maybe I'll see you there.